We looked at 100 rogue builds and the results were shocking. Today we're going to bring you the best possible rogue build and exactly how you can build it and take on the world of Diablo 4. Into the skill tree. First skill we're taking is puncture, into enhanced puncture, into fundamental puncture. You're just going to want to take one of each. Puncture is going to be your main left click ability, allowing you to generate energy when you're all out. Moving into the core skills, we're taking Twisting Blades, 5 stacks of Twisting Blades here. Twisting Blades is your main damage source. You right click them, you stick in 2 blades into them, and after a couple seconds, they will return to you from wherever you are. We will then take Enhanced Twisting Blades for the increased damage, and we will take Advanced Twisting Blades for the cooldown reduction. We take 1 point into Shadow Step. This is so you can stun enemies, have more movement, be able to play that fast rogue gameplay. You take Enhanced Shadow Step for that critical strike chance. You take Methodical Shadow Step so that you can stun those enemies. Very helpful for elites. We take 3 points into Weapon Mastery. It gives us 15% increased damage to healthy enemies, 9% increased damage on swords, 12% increased damage to vulnerable enemies on our bows, and 15% increased critical strike damage on crossbows. We take 1 point into Dash. We just want to be able to have that movement ability, get through big mobs, take the Twisting Blades right back to us. We take 2 points into Rapid Gambits, which our evade cooldown is reduced by 1 second when you daze an enemy. Very simple. We take 1 point into Trick Attacks. When you critically strike a dazed enemy, they are knocked down for 5 seconds. Very important when you're using Shadow Step. Finally, we take 3 points into Concussive. After knocking back or knocking down an enemy, you gain 12% increased critical strike against them for 3 seconds. Man, this guy really wants me to join his party. We take 1 point into Poison Trap. I have 2 here just from my items, but you just take 1 point into Poison Trap. You want to be able to place that trap down. We take Enhanced Poison Trap, which knocks down the enemies, which again combines with our trick attacks, and Countering Poison Trap, which gives you a 30% chance to reset your imbuement skill cooldowns when activated. We take all 3 points into Exploit, which gives us increased damage to healthy and injured enemies, very important for boss fights. Malice, you deal 9% increased damage to vulnerable enemies, which is really important again with Shadow Step. Not only Shadow Step, but Poison Trap gives us those knockdown vulnerable enemies. We will then take Shadow Crash, which gives us Lucky Hit. Shadow damage has up to 10% chance for stun, consuming shadows. Each time you kill an enemy with shadow damage, you generate 20 energy. Really big on the energy. We then take 4 points into Shadow Imbuement. Take 1 point into Enhanced Shadow Imbuement and 1 point into Mixed Shadow Imbuement. This is going to be your skill to get through big fat mobs. It's going to do tons of AoE damage. By AoE, if you're not aware, that means area of effect. We move down here. We take 3 points into Innervation, up to 30% chance to gain 8 energy. Trap Mastery. When Poison Trap or Death Trap activates, we're taking Poison Trap. You gain 12% increased critical strike against vulnerable and crowd controlled enemies. This is just going to max our damage higher, allow us to really destroy those vulnerable enemies. We take 1 point into Adrenaline Rush. While moving, you gain 5% increased energy regeneration, which is really important for getting that energy up. And while above 50% maximum energy with our haste, we take 3 points here. You get increased movement speed, and if we're below that 50% threshold, you're going to get increased attack speed. And finally, for our key passives, we're taking Momentum. No questions about it. Only valid keystone here. While 3 stacks of Momentum, you gain 20% increased damage reduction, 30% increased energy regeneration, and 15% increased movement speed. It's undoubtedly the only keystone you can take on Rogue. For specialization, I take Inner Sight. I mean, you can really take what you want here, but let's go over Inner Sight. Attacks marked enemies to fill up your Inner Sight gauge. When it is full, gain unlimited energy for 4 seconds. I think this is extremely overpowered for boss fights. Let me explain why. When you are fighting a boss and you reach your max energy, your energy won't go down for 4 seconds. You can put about 10 Twisting Blades into the boss at that point, and you're just going to shred him. I mean, you can take bosses down when you're 20 levels down. This build for the rogue with inner sight, you're going to destroy boss fights. That capstone dungeon, easy peasy. You will also just find that inner sight is the easiest to use, and I think that's what we're here for. We want the best execution at easiest possible. So you're going to want to take inner sight. Combo points is possible, but I just think I would stick with inner sight if I was you. Aspects that we are running right now, level 55, pretty set on the mid game. Helm, we're taking Doom Cask of Might, legendary helm. So it's a Codex of Power aspect. It's called Might. You can get it in one of the dungeons. We're getting basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for 2 seconds. You can get a better roll than this, but this is the legendary helm that you're going to want, the aspect of might. For our armor, we are taking Bone Weave Armor of Disobedience. Aspect of Disobedience is what you're going to want here. You gain 0.25% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 25%. Gloves, we are going to be taking Edge Master's Adventure Gloves. Skills deal up to 10% increased damage based on your available primary resource when cast, receiving the maximum benefit while you have primary resource. On our bow, we are taking Blade Dancer Serpent's Bone Bow. Orbit for a short time your twisting blades when they return to you. Now this is the most important aspect of the build. If you don't have this, twisting blades is gonna feel like shit. When you use this and your twisting blades come out of the enemy, they will just orbit around you doing ridiculous amounts of damage. If you don't have this, the build is not even playable. So make sure you, before you get anything else, you go and put Blade Dancers on your bow. Doesn't matter when, you can always replace it. It's not that expensive. We are running the Blast Trapper's Amulet. This gives us dealing direct damage to enemies affected by your trap skills, has up to 45% chance to make them vulnerable for 3 seconds. We have Ring of the Umbral. Umbral aspect is very important. Restore your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. And Circle of the Umbral as well. Restore one of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. I'm still looking at the next aspect for this ring. So obviously you can only use Umbral once. So right now this ring is just giving me raw stats, and I'll be looking for a new aspect soon. Vengeful Lich Blade, marking an enemy vulnerable, has up to 30% chance to gain increased critical strike chance for 3 seconds, up to 9%. And finally, the Flammered of Retribution. Distant enemies have an 8% chance to be stunned for 2 seconds when they hit you. So basically enemies can stun themselves. Pretty awesome. Rounding the build out with your gems. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. With your armor, you're going to put topazes, the best you can get. With your weapons, you're going to put emeralds. And undoubtedly on any class, for your jewelry, you will insert skulls. Skulls are the best. I can quickly explain why, but I will also attach my jewelry and my gems video so you can watch that as well. But our skulls give you armor, and right now resistances are shit, so that armor that you're getting is very, very valuable. It's better than anything else that you can get. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to combo your skills so you can sprint through your enemies. I have my enemies here, so I'm going to show you how to do it. You're going to pick an enemy that you want to shadow step on. Boom, you're gonna pop shadow imbuement, put your trap down, and just spam twisting blades, and boom, and you can dash through extra enemies to get your twisting blades onto them. It's as simple as that. One more time, you're gonna shadow step someone, shadow imbue, pop your trap down, and let twisting blades do the work. That is going to wrap up the rogue build, the best build you will ever find. If you guys did learn something new, or if you did enjoy this content, consider supporting the channel by liking, commenting, or subscribing so you don't miss on any of this Diablo 4 action or content. Until next time, see ya.